The goal of Senate Bill 4 is to stop the tidal wave of illegal entry into Texas. It creates a criminal offense for illegal entry into Texas from a foreign nation.
Remember, that was in December, 3 months to the day. After that day, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill making illegal immigration a state crime. Well, today, the Supreme Court blocked Texas from enforcing it indefinitely. I'm Gadi Schwartz, and you are watching Stay Tuned Now. Up until a few hours ago, it looked like police in Texas were going to be able to arrest migrants accused of crossing into the country illegally. Police in Texas, not Border Patrol. But minutes after a self-imposed deadline just passed, the Supreme Court issued a ruling preventing Texas authorities from doing just that. The consequential law known as SB 4 looks to make illegally crossing the border a state crime, carrying a punishment of up to 6 months in jail. But the Department of Justice has argued that SB 4 is unconstitutional because courts have ruled that immigration solely falls under the federal government's authority. That's why the Biden administration has been working to prevent the law from going into effect. A federal judge in Austin blocked it late last month before a federal appeals court ruled it could go into effect March 9th. That's when the Supreme Court stepped in, temporarily blocking the law so they could decide its fate, then blocking it again and again indefinitely today. And NBC News correspondent David Noriega joins us now. David, so this seems like kind of just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, we still don't know the substance of what the Supreme Court thinks about this law. We just know that they've paused it while the constitutional challenges to the law work their way through the lower courts and possibly back up to the Supreme Court at some point. We do know, anybody who looks at this understands that if this law had gone into effect for more than the 3 or 4 minutes that it technically went into effect today, the results would be, as you said, hugely consequential, not just on the ground in Texas, but potentially for the whole country in terms of opening the door to other states to pass similar laws and really fundamentally altering the balance of power between the federal government and the states when it comes to immigration. The Supreme Court, this is something that legal analysts have pointed out to me when I've talked to them about this, it tends to be biased in favor of keeping the status quo when changing the status quo would be so very disruptive as it would be in this case. So that's all the court has really done for now. It's kind of just put things on pause, made sure that we don't open Pandora's box while this case works its way through the courts.
Works its way through the courts. We've got an election 7 months away. Is there any insight into what indefinite actually means here?
I wish I could tell you exactly, because I personally am, like, if this law actually goes into effect, I'm rearing to go and actually see what it looks like on the ground. It's highly unlikely, is what I've been told by people who know what they're talking about, that this law will actually go into effect, because there is such clear precedent, not just when it comes to cases having to do directly with immigration, stating that this is the sole purview of the federal government, but even more recent cases like the recent Supreme Court ruling on the state of Colorado's effort to boot Trump off the ballot, right? The logic in the ruling of that case was this would create a chaotic patchwork of differing regulations from state to state. The same logic applies here, right? That's a case that a couple of people have pointed out to me as potentially relevant, and that was a slam dunk case. It was a 9-0, it was a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court. That said, this supermajority on the court has dispensed with precedent in other cases. We shouldn't take anything for granted, but I would be really surprised if the reality actually changes on the ground in Texas, either before or after the election.
David Noriega, thanks so much. And it looks like former President Trump might be having a pretty tough time paying that bond in his New York civil fraud case. His legal team says so far they haven't been able to come up with the cash or get a bond to cover the $464 million penalty. Now, those are the damages Trump owes after losing that financial fraud lawsuit in New York. And he's got by next week to post a bond if he wants to stop the AG from collecting the cash while he appeals. All this as Republicans are on damage control today. Trump once again under fire over what he said on the campaign trail at a rally in Ohio over the weekend. NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard joins us now from Scottsdale, Arizona. Vaughn, let's talk about the $464 million question first. Does he have the money or not?
Right. This is the difficult part. Donald Trump and his political team would like to be focusing on battleground political states like here in Arizona. But instead, over the course of the next week, they're going to be having to focus on where they can get that $450 million in either cash or in an appeals bond. And right now, they're struggling to find a place. Donald Trump's own attorney this morning, in a motion to stay them having to pay this penalty right now, said that they went to 30 different surety bond companies, and none of them were able to come through with a bond that satisfied that nearly $500 million requirement stemming from the financial fraud decision from Lower Manhattan against Donald Trump and the Trump Organization. So now, Gadi, it comes into question. What happens over the next week, and can Donald Trump find any way to actually get that cash or an appeals bond to satisfy the demands of the court?
And what happens if he doesn't post a bond?
That's the difficult reality that I think all of us are going to likely be finding out ourselves here, because Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, has said that if Donald Trump doesn't come up with that bond or the cash by Monday, that she's going to be going through the courts in her official capacity as New York Attorney General to begin seizing Donald Trump's assets. And that could very well include major properties of Donald Trump and the Trump Organization and Manhattan. Of course, this is wild just 7 months out from the presidential election, but it's also wild for a family business that has been around for the better part of the last century.
And Vaughn, there's been a lot of headlines today. They've been dominated by some comments made by Trump on Saturday. He was talking about tensions with China over car manufacturing when he said something that the left says is violent, inflammatory rhetoric. The right is saying it's been taken out of context. So real quick, let's take a listen and set the scene here. Take a look.
Great.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars.
So what is he talking about there? Is he talking about the cars? Is he talking about trade? Is he talking about something else? What's going on?
Right. The Biden campaign says, look at the speech in its totality. And Donald Trump, when he's talking about bloodbath, it's a sort of dire language that is reflective of a Republican nominee who, in that very same speech, called January 6 defendants, those individuals who attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6, hostages. Of course, Donald Trump in the last week said that he would release the January 6 defendants currently in custody. And they said, you know, Donald Trump, when he's talking about a bloodbath, it speaks to the sort of dire end of democracy in America as we know it, rhetoric that we've heard from Donald Trump in the past. And Donald Trump himself has said that this November election is, in his words, quote, the final battle here in 2024. And yet at the other end of this, Donald Trump and his team have pushed back, saying that he was talking about the impact on the U.S. auto industry if the Biden administration had a second term, that they would allow more Chinese imported cars into the U.S. marketplace that would bring the U.S. auto industry come tumbling, his version of bloodbath. So I think this is what more, Gadi, we could expect from both the Biden and Trump campaigns over the next 7 months, as both are articulating very dire terms what the other administration's impacts would be on the United States of America as we know it, Gadi.
Vaughn, keywords there, 7 months. Thanks so much for following this.
Thanks, my friend.
Turning now to the violent crisis in Haiti, the State Department says about 1,000 Americans who are still in Haiti have reached out asking for options to escape the country that's been ravaged by gang violence. Now, the airport there is still closed because of the fighting, and the first charter flight taking dozens of Americans out of Haiti arrived in Miami yesterday, flying from the northern city of Cap Haitian instead of the capital, Port-au-Prince. Congressman Corey Mills says his team brought another 13 Americans out of Haiti. But remember, the current violence comes after years of instability for that country. And our Gabe Gutierrez has covered Haiti throughout his career, and he's going to explain.
Haiti's capital on fire. Violence in the streets as gangs fight to keep control of 80% of the city. The UN says more than 360,000 people are internally displaced, with millions in need of food. But the chaos now, years in the making. In 1804, Haiti won its independence from the French. and became the first black-led republic in the world. But in exchange for freedom, France made it pay reparations.
It put Haiti into a cycle of debt and dependency.
In 1915, after several Haitian presidents were assassinated or ousted, the U.S. occupied Haiti. Over about 2 decades, it destabilized Haitian society and killed thousands. Decades later, 2 brutal leaders ruled. A father.
You should have a strong man in every country.
And then his son, both using a paramilitary force to shut down opposition. Then a flurry of leaders and coups and another U.S. intervention. In 2004, the UN stepped in.
That mission has become kind of a textbook case of what not to do in UN missions. The soldiers have been implicated in sex trafficking and drug trafficking rings. It was enormously violent and killed thousands of civilians in Haiti.
In 2010, a devastating earthquake killing about 220,000 people and leaving 1.5 million without homes. Aid flowed in from around the world.
The people of Haiti will have the full support of the United States.
A charity telethon raising millions.
Haiti, I can see your halo.
But experts say politicians took advantage of the chaos, stealing aid.
There's been so much money that's come into the country, and yet there's literally roads to nowhere.
Just months after the earthquake, UN troops introduced cholera to Haiti, starting an outbreak that has killed about 10,000 people. Later came Hurricane Matthew.
The eye of the storm is about to slam into the southwestern tip of this country.
And the fuel crisis compounding the pain in Haiti. In 2021, Haiti's president Jovenel Moïse was assassinated. Ariel Henry, backed by the U.S., became the de facto leader. Violence escalated.
This has become daily life here in Haiti. Tires burning on city streets, protesters furious.
As Henry pushed back elections again and again, Haitians grew angry. When Henry went to Kenya to get international support, gangs orchestrated a mass prison break and demanded he resign. Henry says he will resign once a transitional government brokered by other countries is formed. But many Haitians say more foreign intervention is not the answer. He says the country is ours. No one will decide for us. We must take our destiny into our own hands.
And Jacksonville Beach, Florida is reeling after an extremely violent spring break weekend. In fact, last night alone, 3 separate shootings went down all within a span of an hour. Tonight, 1 person is dead and 3 are still in the hospital. And as for the suspects, right now, no arrests have been made.
So the first shooting, 2 victim suspects shoot at each other. They are wounded and are in serious condition, surgery. 1 victim, the third, was a complete innocent bystander who was visiting from out of town. He's in serious condition, was hit 3 times. The third incident, the victim is deceased.
Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Sam Brock for more. 3 shootings, but all unconnected, Sam? What happened?
Yeah, they're saying it's unrelated, Gadi. I mean, it's crushing, too, to hear an innocent bystander just happened to be visiting Jacksonville area on Jacksonville Beach and get shot because 2 guys are firing at each other. That's basically what police said. But what's so puzzling about all of this is the video and the explanation from Jacksonville Beach police that they knew ahead of time that there was going to be some sort of an event or a brawl, a boxing match between hundreds of juveniles, Gadi, in their words, 250 to 400 juveniles. It was pre-planned to the extent there was actually a flyer for this. The police released it, all right? So they knew this was going on. When did they intervene? That's the big question. And they also released a whole bunch of video, CCTV, user video, a citywide surveillance video showing what was going on the beach as these people are whacking each other. And according to the police, right after that was broken up or they dispersed it, that's when you get these string of shootings. The first one at 7:50 in the evening, then again at 8:13, and another one at 8:31. That last one involved 3 men who had firearms. One of them killed the victim. Okay, that was obviously the most serious situation. But earlier, you had 3 other people that were in serious condition from the firings as well that we talked about. So this really was an absolute mess. It's a nightmare. It's what no city wants to experience. It's the opposite of what we've seen in Miami Beach this year, and it's truly tragic.
And yet Jacksonville wasn't the only city in Florida that saw a lot of violence, right?
It's a good point. So there is some wild video out of New Smyrna Beach, which is an hour or so north of Orlando on the water. There is a 16-year-old, according to Volusia County Sheriff's deputies, who brandished a firearm on the beach as there's all these crowds of spring breakers near him. Take a look at the body cam video.
Hey, drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Can you imagine, Gadi, being on a beach, enjoying spring break with your friends or your family, and something like that happens? In about 5 minutes, they had a standoff with that 16-year-old. He ran into the Atlantic Ocean, and police were able to defuse the situation and ultimately arrest him. He was later charged with various counts, pretty serious firearm, obviously related counts. He had a criminal history, and this, of course, happened in another part of Florida that was not South Florida.
Yeah, a pretty wet attempted getaway there. All of this seems to stand in stark contrast to Miami, where you are right now. You've got that police cruiser behind you, but it has been pretty peaceful in Miami. I know Miami usually gets pretty rowdy during spring break. What's different this year?
That would be the understatement of the century. The entire world has been looking at Miami the last several years. Seriously, I mean, mass shootings that have captured international headlines last year. 2 homicides on Ocean Drive. So over here is the beach walk. You see the police cars right here. On my other side is Ocean Drive. 2 people were killed on this main artery. They had to shut everything down. This year, that's just one snapshot. You're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of police officers, state troopers, multiple agencies, like 17 or 18 of them from around Florida, all coming down here, in addition to no parking that's available, a midnight curfew, Gadi, that was put into place just this past weekend, and there was no precipitating event. I talked to the city manager. It's her call, and she said we were out there on Wednesday, Thursday. The crowds were getting bigger. I saw a lot of people really intoxicated and said, not taking this chance. They did that. There were no shootings and no major incidents here this weekend. Miami right now is the gold standard. You know, and last year, just to give you the numbers, almost 500 arrests, 100-plus firearms seized. The 2 homicides that we talked about this year, it's 250-plus arrests, and that's over the span of the busiest weekend so far. 0 shootings, 0 deaths. They really have done an unbelievable job in turning this around, Gadi.
NBC's Sam Brock, thanks so much. And don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. The incredible story of a woman who threw down with a cougar to save her fellow cyclist. Details on how she fought the cat off, and a story you don't want to miss. Plus, Iceland's Blue Lagoon is cleared out for another volcanic eruption. This is the 4th one in 3 months, and the video is jaw-dropping. We're going to tell you more when we check out our stories from around the world. And later this hour, an NBC News exclusive look at one of the Navy's newest tools when it comes to patrolling the seas in the Middle East. We're talking sea drones. Our own Courtney Kuby explains everything in tonight's Future of Everything. That's all ahead, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out in the West that we're following right now. A manhunt has ended in New Mexico after police arrested a suspected cop killer in a shootout. Investigators say they got a tip about the suspect, Jeremy Smith, from a gas station clerk and took him into custody after a foot chase and a shooting. He was wanted for the killing of a New Mexico State police officer, as well as an earlier murder of a paramedic in South Carolina. Also in New Mexico, a jury has convicted an Afghan refugee for one of 3 killings of Muslim men almost 2 years ago. This is a first trial against Mohammed Syed, who faces life in prison. He's being accused of killing 2 other Muslim men in a string of shootings back in 2022, and investigators say he is also a suspect in another murder there that is still under investigation. And a 78-year-old driver was arrested for killing 3 people and hurting a child in a car crash at a bus stop in San Francisco over the weekend. Police say an adult and a child died at the scene on Saturday. A 3rd person died later at the hospital, and a baby still remains in critical condition. The investigation into the crash is still ongoing. And now to the Pacific Northwest, where an everyday bike ride for some friends turned into a life and death fight against a mountain lion in Washington state. Now, one of the women who survived that attack is sharing her story for the first time. NBC's Liz Kreutz joins us now. Liz, how do you fight a cougar off?
Yeah, this is a really wild story, and these women are very lucky to be alive. That is not an understatement here. So essentially, these women, this happened a month ago. These women were on a long bike ride. They're competitive cyclists, longtime friends, been riding together for 5 years. They were 19 miles into their ride when two cougars came out of the brush.
Two cougars?
Two of them. One went back into the woods. The other one, though, lunged at one of the women, dragging her off her bike, grabbing onto her face, and would not let go for 15 minutes as the other two women jumped into action. They said it was hand-to-hand combat trying to get this cougar off of her. They tried everything, sticks, they tried to choke it, and nothing worked until finally the cougar released his grip slightly and the woman was able to get free, and then they used a bike to then get it on top and hold it down until Fish and Wildlife came.
Wait. They kept the cougar there?
Yeah, they kept it there using the bike to get it. There's even pictures of this, I think. I know I'm using my hands. It's like very dramatic. So here's what they had to say. They spoke out. Take a listen.
I just remember getting tackled from this side and then ending up at the other side of the road.
I immediately tried to choke the cougar, which was like choking a rock. You know, Carrie's just laying there by herself, and we just kept saying, "Are you doing okay?" And she would just give us a little bloody thumbs up that she was doing okay. I think it's the epitome of true friendship and love is action.
I know for a fact I would be dead if they didn't come back in. I would just be gone.
We just did what we had to do, and part of it was just primal instinct. Just get in there and fight.
Mama
fight
bears.
for a life. So
the cougar wasn't going to take us cougars down.
I can't get over that. They're still hugging each other in that. Hold on. So if we can, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but can we pull up that picture again? Because Liz, you pointed out the cougar's underneath there, right?
Yeah, they literally took their bikes and put it on top of the cougar and then are on top of their bikes to hold down this cougar. And apparently this whole ordeal lasted 45 minutes, 15 minutes of that combat, but then they had to wait there for Fish and Wildlife to come. At that point, a Fish and Wildlife official did shoot and kill the cougar. The woman was taken to the hospital. You can see her scars still to her face. She's still recovering. She has nerve damage.
They've got a rock. They've got a rock.
Oh, a rock
on
as
top
well.
of a bike, on top of a stick, and underneath there you see the fur.
Yeah, don't mess with these women.
Don't mess with these. This is the craziest story I've heard in a long time, and they seem to be so close.
So close, and they've said that they're not going to let this stop them from cycling. They're going to get right back out there. They just say that next time they're going to bring protection. So
they're
that's the lesson for all of us.
What is, I mean, they've
I don't
got
know
their...
what protection... Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Such badasses. Yeah, thanks so much, Liz. Thank you. And you might call this next one Bling Ring 2.0, but this time it has gone international. We are talking about police here in Los Angeles that say that there is a new trend in L.A. where tourist crooks are flying to Los Angeles from South America with the sole intention of robbing wealthy homes. Authorities say the number of crimes associated with these so-called burglary tourists are up recently, with as many as 94 burglaries in one section of the city last year alone. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin has more.
Tonight, the LAPD launching a new special task force after a concerning rise in so-called burglary tourists, as residents in Southern California on high alert.
We have a significant increase in burglaries from organized groups that are outside this country, that are coming into the country, and they are targeting high-end residents.
Police say the burglary tourists are part of international crime rings traveling from countries in South America, the majority from Chile, with the mission to break in and rob homes in the U.S. Home surveillance videos like this capturing the moment a group of individuals break a window and enter a home in Redlands, California. An all too familiar story for residents in the area.
It's very, disturbing. I mean, it rattles us as a neighborhood, and we've been here for years and years.
The LAPD says there have been more than 900 residential burglaries in the area since January. And in Orange County, Irvine police say in the past 35 days, there have been 34 home burglaries similar in nature to burglaries tied to the South American crime rings. Police say the intruders use sophisticated technology like Wi-Fi jammers, drones, and even camouflage suits to stake out homes and disable security cameras.
Some sort of device by burglars that actually deaden, kill, or stop Wi-Fi from operating.
Ransacking residents for cash, jewelry, electronics, and high-end handbags. But how are these highly coordinated criminals able to get into the U.S.? Police say they arrive here legally on 90-day tourist visas before hitting some of the wealthiest neighborhoods across the country. San Diego police investigating this crew of burglars caught on camera and suspected in more than 21 burglaries.
They are up in their game. They're getting smarter as how they're acting and what they're doing,
making them extremely difficult to track down, according to police.
These are Chilean burglary crews.
But a possible win for authorities in Arizona, who arrested a 17-year-old Chilean national and 2 adults, all suspected members of this heist ring and accused of robbing multiple homes in Los Angeles.
Terrifying. Coming up, hot off that unsurprising win in the Russian presidential election, Vladimir Putin talks to our own Keir Simmons. But first, you gotta see this. More than 26,000 runners laced it up and hit the road yesterday for the 39th annual Los Angeles Marathon. They came from literally all over the world. We're talking 50 states, more than 70 countries to run those 26.2 miles from Dodger Stadium to Century City. 26-year-old Kenyan Dominic Nagano won the race with an unbelievable time of 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 20 seconds. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. We've got new pictures of Kate Middleton from over the weekend. That's coming up. But first, let's take a quick look around the world. Remember Havana syndrome? That was when U.S. diplomats based in Cuba started talking about being exposed to ear-splitting noises, and that led to headaches and dizziness. And in some cases, they even raised the idea of brain injuries. Well, today, new studies by the National Institutes of Health found no evidence of brain injury. The studies were not designed to find a cause, but they were consistent with earlier findings that pointed to environmental factors and nothing nefarious. Over in the UK, it looks like Banksy has a new piece. Both journalists and local politicians flocked to this North London neighborhood after this mural appeared yesterday morning. There it is. It shows a woman holding a power washer who appears to have sprayed green paint onto the side of an apartment building, so it kind of looks like a dead tree is being brought back to life there, sort of. And North Korea is firing off some ballistic missiles while Secretary Antony Blinken is in South Korea. Now, the South Korean military says the missiles were fired into an area east of the Korean peninsula. It comes after South Korea and U.S. militaries capped off 10 days of joint military drills late last week. No one has been hurt. And for the 4th time in 3 months, Iceland is dealing with massive volcanic eruptions that might have opened up a crack in the earth some 2 miles wide. Hundreds of people have been evacuated from that area, but so far there have been no reports of any injuries. But there are a lot of questions about the true state of democracy in Russia, and our chief international correspondent, Keir Simmons, has taken those questions straight to Putin himself.
Tonight in Red Square, a flag-waving wartime celebration for Russia's re-elected president. President Putin center stage, the pinnacle of this staged, managed election. And the crowd are shouting, Russia, Russia. These are some of the 87% of Russians who officials say voted for President Putin. The young positioned in the front row tonight for 24 years. His leadership is all they've known.
All my life, President Putin.
All your life. And what do you think of him?
I love Putin.
President Putin is popular here, but not with everyone. This weekend saw arson attacks on polling stations, dye thrown into ballot boxes, and silent protests. NBC News, the first international news organization to question Putin after he won 6 more years.
Mr. President, journalist Evan Gershkovich spent this election in prison. Boris Nadezhdin, who opposes your war in Ukraine, wasn't allowed to stand against you. And Alexei Navalny died in one of your prisons during your campaign. Mr. President, is this what you call democracy?
Это жизнь. That's life, he told us, then called Navalny's death an unfortunate incident. He had agreed to release him, he said, before he died, as long as he did not return. Until now, he'd never publicly mentioned Alexei Navalny's name, and tonight the White House denying knowledge of a prisoner swap.
We have not heard a Russian official raise Navalny as part of a prisoner swap in any of those conversations.
The White House is calling this election not free nor fair, while China, North Korea and Saudi Arabia are among those congratulating Putin.
Keir Simmons, thanks so much. President Joe Biden has issued a new warning to Israel today, telling Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that a ground invasion of Rafah would be a mistake. All of this after Israel once again raided Gaza's largest hospital. NBC News foreign correspondent Richard Engel has more.
Israeli troops today zeroed in on Gaza City. This woman screams she went to get flour and returned to find her home reduced to rubble with all her family inside. This was once Gaza's most populous city. It's now a wasteland. Before dawn here, Israeli troops stormed Shifa Hospital. The Israeli army says Hamas was directing attacks from the hospital, while the Gaza Health Ministry says 30,000 people were sheltering there. Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Biden spoke today for the first time in over a month. The White House says President Biden warned against a ground invasion in Rafah.
A major ground operation there would be a mistake. It would lead to more innocent civilian deaths.
Netanyahu today told members of the pro-Israel lobby group AIPAC that victory is near.
How do we define victory? We define it as the destruction of Hamas's military and governing capability. We define it also as the return of the hostages, and we define it also as preventing the return of Gaza from becoming a threat to Israel at any time in the future.
But what will these children, today waiting for food handouts, grow up thinking about Israel? This morning, the world's leading authority on food security, backed by the UN and the U.S. government, said 1.1 million people, half of Gaza's population, face catastrophic hunger and starvation, and that famine is imminent.
Negotiations are resuming here in Qatar. Among the proposals, a 6-week truce in exchange for 40 hostages. Richard Engel, NBC News, Doha.
Richard, thank you for that. And coming up, it is time to stay wild. Tonight, we are talking to our buddy Jeff Corwin about a new species just found in Utah's Great Salt Lake and what that could mean for the ecosystem there. It's fascinating stuff, so stick around. Hey, welcome back, and here are some of the headlines we're watching tonight. In New York City, 19-year-old twin sisters were stabbed while visiting a deli on Sunday. Police say one died from a stab wound to the chest, while the other is in stable condition after suffering a wound to their arm. The surviving sisters said the confrontation began when the suspect complimented the sisters and then became irritated when they wouldn't follow him back on Instagram. No arrests have been made. And at least 157 people were killed unintentionally by children last year, according to the gun safety advocacy group Everytown. That's in addition to another 270 that were injured. The shooters were most often teenagers between 14 and 17, as well as children 5 and under. And a whole lot of people rave about the benefits of intermittent fasting, but one new study suggests that people who only ate for less than 8 hours a day actually had a much higher chance of dying from cardiovascular disease. 91% higher, in fact, and that analysis comes courtesy of the American Heart Association, but it has not yet been peer-reviewed. And tomorrow is the first day of spring, but for 23 million Americans, it feels anything but. Freeze watches and freeze warnings are in effect in the southeast, stretching from Arkansas to North Carolina. Temperatures could dip into the 20s. And contrast that with Washington, D.C. The city's iconic cherry blossoms are already in peak bloom. That's the second earliest in more than a century of records. It's so early that it's before the official start of the National Cherry Blossom Festival, which starts in 2 days. And in tonight's edition of Stay Wild, these days, sometimes it seems like it is hard to find anything new in the wild. And a lot of times we look for new life elsewhere, other planets, other solar systems. But how about a new species discovery right here in the good old US of A? We are talking about researchers at the University of Utah that have come across a very hardy new species of nematodes. And no, not like toads. Think more microscopic. They're actually roundworms living in Utah's Great Salt Lake, an environment so harsh from all that salt that most things can't survive. In fact, up until now, only a special shrimp and some flies were the only known species to live in that lake. So to help break all this down for us, we thought, who better to ask than biologist and ocean expert Jeff Corwin. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to see you. Why is this new discovery so important?
Well, it's so exciting because it's always incredible when we discover new life. And people may be surprised that on a regular basis, scientists who look for new types of living things, known as taxonomists, will make these sorts of incredible discoveries. But what makes it so intriguing is that this is what we call a hostile ecosystem. It's highly salty water. tough for most species to survive. As you mentioned, Gadi, only a couple of different species survived there. So it was a wonderful revelation to find this new species of worm, the roundworm, a type of creature that's actually been on our planet for a very, very, very long time.
Life finds a way. And speaking of new discoveries, we've got some underwater sea mounts that were recently found off the coast of Chile, right? Can you tell us about those ecosystems?
Absolutely. So incredible discoveries were made by Schmidt Oceanographic, going hundreds and hundreds of feet deep into the waters off of Chile. But what I love about this is, Gadi, you alluded to this earlier, we think to the stars for incredible discoveries. But right on our own planet, especially in the oceans, amazing new discoveries are awaiting us. For example, we have discovered about 242,000 different marine species. Okay, every year we discover over 2,000 new species. Now, scientists estimate that there's 2.5 more million species to be discovered, which means, did you do the math, Gadi? How many years that is? It's 200.
I am lost at 2 million more species yet to be discovered on planet Earth.
So we know less than 20-30% of all marine species. So there's 2.5 million more species to go. So we have 200 years of discovery ahead, which is why it's so important to protect these marine areas. So, for example, we have NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. We talked about the national marine sanctuaries before. Do you know how many national marine sanctuaries we have in the United States? 15.
No, tell me.
15, from the Great Lakes to Florida to Alaska to Hawaii to Massachusetts. We have Stellwagen Bank. And this area, it's almost like a national park in the ocean, Gadi. It covers more than 620,000 square miles. Incredibly important. It's our national parks of our seas. They protect culture, historic, and natural treasures. And without this incredible system, we would lose these species before we discover them. So thankfully, we have our national marine sanctuaries, and everyone should support them, get out and explore them. They belong to us, but you need to be very prepared if you plan on going down about 3,000 or 4,000 feet deep.
I was just going to say, I mean, if I would have heard this in high school, I think biology would have been something I paid a lot more attention to. Do you think that a lot of people realize this?
I don't think people have a strong connection to these resources because they seem so far away. But, Gadi, I've always believed you can't protect what you do not understand. And you won't get to understand it if someone doesn't make that connection for you, which is why it's so important that NOAA has protected these resources, not just as natural, historic, and cultural treasures, but resources that are used for fishing, outdoor recreation, commercial fisheries. And it's why organizations like the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, which is sort of the NGO that works with NOAA, is critical in making that connection. So we can fall in love with these resources so we can protect them for the next generation. We see right there, there's a beautiful Dumbo squid. We never would have known this incredible, or this spider crab living deep in the ocean. We would never know about these discoveries if it wasn't for science. And incredibly, we have 2 million more species to discover awaiting our incredible explorers under the ocean. So don't go to the stars, just stay on Earth and make your own discoveries.
Can't wait to see what we see next. Jeff Corwin, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Gadi.
And the field for March Madness is set. There's been a lot of talk over the last 24 hours about who's who and who's in, who's out for both the men's and the women's NCAA basketball tournaments. And you're probably working on your bracket. Well, in the men's, we've got defending champion UConn. They are still the #1 seed overall. In a tournament that crisscrosses a country, the Huskies will only get on a plane if they reach the Final Four in Phoenix. In the women's tournament, South Carolina is the top seed. Oh, by the way, they are undefeated. USC, Texas, and Iowa are also #1 seeds, hoping to hoist the national title trophy in Cleveland. And when it comes to the numbers, predictions, and potential upsets, you know we got to bring in the math man with the khakis, the one and only Steve Kornacki. Hey there, Steve.
All right, Gadi, let's start on the men's side here. Here is the field. Let's start with the #1 overall seed. That's the defending national champion, the Yukon Huskies. They rolled through the Big East tournament over the weekend. They certainly looked like the defending champ. They're the 1 seed. They're playing out of the East Regional. Couple teams there they might want to worry about. Iowa State, who looked so good in the Big 12 tournament, another top conference. Iowa State won that in a rout over the weekend over Houston. So that's a one to keep an eye on here. And also, how about Auburn? Auburn coming out of the SEC, they also looked great. So a couple hurdles potentially for the defending national champions. The other 1 seeds, North Carolina, the Tar Heels, Houston, the Cougars here, and then Purdue. They were a #1 seed last year, you might remember, and they became only the second #1 seed in history to lose to a 16 seed. So can Purdue go from the ultimate humiliating upset loss in this tournament last year to the ultimate redemption and win it all? They are a 1 seed again. We'll see what happens. Some long shots, some dark horses here to keep an eye on. How about Vermont over Duke? Vermont seems to be in this tournament every year. Is this finally the year they can break through? I'd take a look down here. This Kansas team. Kansas, a big brand name, a blue blood in this sport. Not the same Kansas we're used to this year. Samford, meanwhile, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. Maybe Samford could knock off Kansas. And we got to mention St. Peter's. You remember 2 years ago, St. Peter's, the Peacocks, Jersey City, New Jersey, a Cinderella run to the Elite Eight. They're back in the tournament. They're a 15 seed this year. Let's take a look here. Also, if you're filling out your bracket, these are the odds of upsets by seed. I think one to keep an eye on here. The 12 seed over the 5 seems to happen every year, 35%. So you're filling out your bracket. Take a look at these odds, but I think the 12 over the 5 is one to keep in particular mind here. Then let's look at the women's bracket here. A couple things to keep in mind. The #1 overall seed, all the attention, it seems, goes to Iowa, but it is South Carolina who's the #1 overall seed. Hey, they're undefeated. They replaced 5 starters from last year's team, didn't miss a beat, got better if anything. They're the top seed overall. Then there is Iowa. They are a 1 seed. Caitlin Clark, she said this is it. She's going pro after this year. They got the 1 seed, but Iowa's got some company in this part of the bracket here. How about UCLA, the #2 seed? How about the team Iowa lost to in the national championship last year, LSU? Iowa, if they're going to get to the Final Four, have a shot to get to the title game, they got to get through some serious hurdles here. If they get there, Gadi, they will have earned it.
That's what's up. Before we go, it is time for the future of everything. And tonight we are talking drones, but not the drones that fly in the air. We're going to tell you about underwater drones that send back intel for the U.S. military. It's an exclusive report, and it's coming up after this quick break. And tonight, in the future of everything, with rising tensions in the Red Sea and ships under attack, the U.S. is starting to deploy one of its newest weapons in the fight, unmanned sea drones. NBC News Pentagon correspondent Courtney Cubey takes us inside the fleet for a very rare look.
Iranian-backed Houthi militants have attacked ships off the coast of Yemen more than 50 times in the past 3 months, recently sinking this cargo ship and killing at least 3 crew members on another. U.S. retaliatory strikes have not deterred the Houthis, but the U.S. Navy is now also using another tool in its fight, one below the surface of the water.
These are all maritime robotics here. These are unmanned systems with the ability to navigate.
So drones?
Drones, exactly.
Okay, so sea drones.
Sea drones, exactly.
We traveled to the U.S. Navy headquarters in Bahrain. Captain Michael Brasseur was the first Commodore of Task Force 59, which uses drones and robots on and below the water, gathering information and using artificial intelligence.
We are using artificial intelligence to sift through all that information and highlight activity that's outside the normal pattern of life that we may want to take a closer look at.
The U.S. military has decreased its presence in this region over the last several years. But now, with systems like these, they can maintain their presence here at sea. The drones see potential threats and send a warning here to the Robotics Operations Center.
The artificial intelligence component in particular allows us to pick out malign activity and then use our crewed vessels more effectively to go after them.
In addition to deterring Houthi attacks, the U.S. Navy is patrolling to spot piracy, human trafficking, and weapons smuggling, acknowledging one country represents the greatest danger here.
Iran today is the most serious threat in the region.
Especially Iranian drones and ballistic missiles. In January, the U.S. intercepted Iranian missile parts headed to Houthi rebels in Yemen. The Sea Drone, the newest weapon to combat it.
We're going about this from seabed to space and having sensors everywhere in between.
Meanwhile, the Houthis now have their own sea drones, but not for surveillance. They're packing them with explosives, and they're using them to attack ships.
Drone warfare all around. That does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.